Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. on January 16th, 2024, and establish a quorum with Todd Summers, Chris McGirt, and Ken Nicewander. Jeff Howard hopefully will show up, and our bookkeeper Nancy. And I want to welcome everyone that's here. Got a lot of firefighters, got some guests we'll get back to here in a little bit. Appreciate you all being here. I know Brenda sent out the minutes for everyone to review. Has everybody reviewed those? And if there are no deletions, corrections, discussion on the minutes, then I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us, actually, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because we have some guests here, and just in case they don't want to stick around for the whole meeting, they won't have to. We had two guests that were interested, or at least showing some interest, and joining our board and committee. And so I'm just going to first off, I'll speak to you, just kind of give you my spiel on what we do and what we're about, and then any questions you all have. And before I do that, I'll just have you introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay, I'm Joey Rumfield. I live here in Divine. Been here since 2015.
Okay.
I'm Abby Beadle. I work for the school district here in Divine. I've been here for about 10 years, I suppose.
Okay. Thank you very much. So just the gist of what we do, obviously we are the ESD 2, Medina County Emergency Services District number 2, is we do collect taxes from the taxpayers in our district, and with those tax dollars, it is our job to help provide the best firefighting services we can for our district, okay? We don't collect enough money to have a paid fire department. We collect, look at the budget here, some roughly $500,000 a year, okay? If you know anything about manpower and cost, that's not going to pay for a fire department and for a fully paid fire department. It just doesn't. And then recently we now are starting to collect some sales tax dollars, which is very new, and we don't really know exactly what that number is going to look like. So what we do as a collective here is we take a lot of information, advice from the fire department and what they need, and they provide us reports for financials. And again, the bottom line is we have hired them, okay? So they are under contract with us to provide firefighting for our district number 2. We have, within our preview, we could hire anybody we wanted to. I just don't know who else you would hire, you know? I mean, if you think about it realistically, I mean, you're not going to get somebody out of San Antonio or, you know, anywhere else to come in here and provide those services for the cost that we're getting here. And the Divine Volunteer Fire Department has done a fantastic job since we started this ESD, and that has only grown and gotten better. So again, the number one rule for us is we just like to come here, we listen to what they are, what the needs they're telling us they have, and just make logical, common sense decisions, in my opinion, on how to best spend the dollars we do have. One of the biggest things we did was we built this firehouse, okay? And so you think about all the stuff that's here, ESD owns some of it, Volunteer Fire Department owns some of it. I suspect as years, you know, a lot of ESDs, the longer they're in existence, more and more stuff ends up belonging to the ESD and less ends up belonging to the fire department. They do a pretty good job of fundraising and all, so I don't know that we'll ever get to that point where we own all of it. But that tends to be the case over a long period of time. It's not really our job, in my opinion, and we haven't made it our business to tell them how to manage what they do and their crew. That's not our job. That's why you have a chief and assistant chiefs and lieutenants, and they take care of that. It's just us to help provide them with the resources they need to do their job. For the most part, I mean, it's rare that we meet more than once a month. It's generally once a month at 7 p.m. on the, what is this, the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. 7 seems a little late. We made it 7 because we got a lot of folks coming in from work. Jeff works in San Antonio. Chris at time was between Austin and here and everywhere else, and so it was just easier to make it 7. I think most will say I run a pretty efficient meeting, and we're usually out of here by 8. So I don't mess around, and I don't want you to have to be here any longer than you have to be here. So mostly that's our job, that's what we do here. All the board members, I think all of them except me, have signature card at the bank, because anytime we write a check, there has to be 2 signatures on it. The only reason I don't have is because the particular business that I work for, Edward Jones, does not allow me to be on any other financials like that, for obvious reasons, just conflict of interest and stuff, and so I can't do that. And so there are times when Nancy will need to hunt somebody down to sign a check, because she's got to get 2 signatures on a check once we've approved it for that. The person in the position we are looking to fill is the secretary's position. Really, for the most part, again, the secretary, for the most part, above and beyond what we do, is they generally post the agenda, which is a pretty set format, and they provide the minutes. And for the most part, that's it. The agenda, you prepare the agenda. Used to, you had to drive all the way to Hondo and turn it in. Now you can just email it over there, and they'll stamp it and then email it back to you, so you don't even have to go over there anymore to do that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not an overly difficult job, but it's a very important job. Like I said, I think for a volunteer fire department and for our district, I believe we do a darn good job here, and the fire department's just done nothing but grow and improve on their services. And then you'll hear, if you stick around, you'll hear some of the things we're going to talk about, things that are coming up. But any questions you have for us?
I will say it's not mandatory that this person be the secretary. If somebody else wanted to step up and be the secretary.
Good luck with
I
that.
think I heard a if.
We were just very spoiled with Brenda taking care of that for us.
Well, I can't talk and chew gum at the same time, so I
I don't know,
can talk and do minutes.
The interim secretary might have to just continue on.
So there is one more member that's not here, Jeff Howard. He may end up showing up here, but that's really it. It's just being an active volunteer member, just helping out the community, helping us out. But we do value your time and try not to take up any more of it than we need to. There are times, there's been a couple times when we have a budget workshop, we have to do our annual budget each year, maybe we have an extra meeting, but even then, maybe it's just one.
Yeah.
We can generally get it taken care of here and get it done. Pretty simple. So the minutes, Ken's recording them. Brenda used to do the same thing. She would just record them, and then of course, handwrite any notes she thought she needed to along the way. And then just get them out to each one of us prior to the meetings. That saves time. So like you heard us tonight, everybody's already reviewed them, already looked at them. We don't have to sit here and go over them and get that done. Nancy, our bookkeeper, she provides all the treasurer's reports for us and keeps us straight there. So I would just welcome both of you. If you want to write down my phone number, if you leave here tonight and you have additional questions or want to talk to me, by all means, if you want to call me and just tell me, hey, you're definitely interested, there is an application I would have you fill out. I will say this is unprecedented. We've never had 2 people that actually are interested. So we've never had to make a decision. So that would be new.
You do have a ring set up out in the...
My name is Todd Summers. Again, by the way, my phone number is, go ahead, 210-287-6883. And I'm welcome to call me, question, whatever, let me know what your intentions are. And if you definitely want to move forward, I'll send you the application. We can get that and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And you're welcome to stay and listen and call, but I just feel like I'd get that out of the way in case you guys had something else you needed to do tonight and didn't want to stick around.
Can I leave a resume with you guys?
Yes, sir, you absolutely can.
And you also don't have to leave. We're not running you off. But feel free to stick around.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Our meeting's not the most exciting thing in the world, but
With that being said, that brings us to the volunteer fire department.
if y'all would, go ahead and sign in, just saying you're here. Your name's not gonna be on there, so just sign at the bottom.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, guys. Glad you're all here. Thank you for having us. Appreciate you. We're going to talk about a couple things tonight. First, I want to get out the normal report stuff, so I'm going to kick it over to Lieutenant Lay and have him talk about our trainings for this past month.
We didn't meet in December, so I've got November and December's training reports with the end of the year also included in that. November, we had 62 man-hours of training. We only did 2 classes that month. December, we didn't have any training due to the holidays. We wound up year-to-date for the year 1,125 hours of in-house training and 280 hours outside of the station. So that's going to TEKS, different schools outside of the station. We've got 25 active responders on the department. 14 of those have either tested or are eligible to test for SFMA certification, and then we've got 3 members that are actually certified Texas Commission on Fire Protection, which governs all like the paid departments and stuff. And we've actually got several more in the pipeline that want to go TCFE, so we'll have several TCFE firefighters in the house here before the end of this year. And that's what I've got for training.
Okay. Financial report, I will get you a financial report. Our bookkeeper is dealing with some well issues from the freeze, and so she was unavailable to me today. I can tell you it's our typical first quarter type deal, which is this is the lowest our accounts are every year. And Miss Nancy, I'm sure, can probably attest to that. Our money hasn't really started pouring in yet, and we've paid a lot of bills, and so this is the lowest it'll be this year. And but we know that things are just starting to roll. Good news is on the academy side, we have a class that is supposed to, an EMT class that's starting February 14th, and all of our minimal slots, the slots we want to fill to put on the class, those are already filled. We're a month out. I've only got 5 extra slots left. I expect they will be filled within the next couple of weeks. And by filled, that means we have deposits already paid for those, and people are it's not just they've signed up, they're coming. They've already paid parts in the whole 9 yards, which means that we can go ahead and start shifting our attention to the next set of classes, which will be in June and whatnot. We will get the evening fire academy going in for the night adults later this year. We're looking at probably launching that in the April-May timeframe. We might be able to go earlier, but at this point we're starting to get to a point of scheduling conflicts, and I need to make sure I have enough instructors and I have enough spaces and I have all that. So we're doing all these great things, but now we're starting to run out of space. So that's really the only thing that's holding that from going forward, is us trying to figure out schedules when we're going to have EMT academies in here, when the fire academy is going to be in here, and whatnot. So that is the business stuff portion of this.
Could I ask a question about that real quick?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
You say people pay deposits on, what does it cost a student to go to your school?
So per student, it cost us about $2,500. Now, we get a grant from Texas A&M that actually helps with a lot of that, pays for the instructors and whatnot. And then some of these kids, they get scholarships and things. On average, it costs them about $1,500 total if they're coming out of pocket, is usually what it costs them.
Do you have, I know this is all new, but do you have any indication, like how many kids do you think don't do it because they can't come up with the $1,500?
I do have indications, and it's quite a few. So here's the deal. I actually have been looking vigilantly to try to find scholarships and things like that. I've tried to work with the VA and whatnot. The problem is, because we're such a new school, most of these scholarships and sponsoring programs won't touch you for 3 years. They want to make sure you're actually going to be around. They want to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain and before they start investing their money into you. And I get that. I really do. But that makes it difficult, because right now we're in that infancy, and I got a lot of people that come to me and they say, Chief, we'd love to take your class, but we just simply can't afford it. One of the things that we're actually getting ready to do is go to some of the local businesses and see if they want to do scholarships.
I know Miss Nancy over at the high school kind of manages all the scholarships that come into the high school. I wonder if there's a way for her to communicate to those people and say, hey, these aren't your traditional scholarship for college, but hey, we have this issue, or would y'all be interested in?
Well, the school district has already been extremely helpful.
No, these are outside
in that
scholarships that are coming into the school.
I get that, and that's what I'm saying. They've been very helpful in saying, hey, have you looked at these guys? Have you talked to these guys? But they all have kind of the same deal, which is until we've been around for 3 years, no one really wants to. Now at that 3-year mark, they're all like, hey, if you make it to that 3-year mark, which by the way, by the end of this year, we'll have our 3 years in. So hard to believe, right? Pretty exciting. But by the end of this year, we'll have our 3 years in. And in which case, we'll be able to start pulling a lot of these in. I know we've already started working with AMVETS out of, AMVETS, Foreign Legion? I'm going to say the wrong one. Don't put this on the recording, because they're going to be mad at me. One of the military-affiliated organizations out of Hondo is already helping us. I know they write a scholarship for it for veterans in the area. We have some other organizations that are stepping up to help, but we're really trying to look for, again, our class sizes are 15 to 20 people, right, per class. And at $1,500 coming out of pocket, typically, even if they could get a scholarship for $1,000, right? And then they don't have to come out of pocket $500 or whatever, it would help them dramatically. And so I'm always trying to find ways to try to cut the cost to them. And but it's just a matter of getting over some of the hurdles that are in the way. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and well, it gives me something to think about, because I know a lot of these folks that are donating money too.
I will tell you. So actually, here's a prime example. So Volton Belting, did I say that right? Volt Belting. Mike and those guys over there, they are a huge supporter of ours. They're a huge supporter of what we're doing. So we're getting ready to have a chili cook-off in February, and that money goes toward this as well. Well, he just became the sponsor. He just gave $3,000 to become the sponsor for that chili cook-off, so that we can save more money to put towards scholarships to try to help people go to these classes. And here's the pride I take. Okay, she's not in here at the moment, but we've got a couple people running around here right now that were working at gas stations or working road jobs or whatever, things they weren't really happy about. Phyllis Martin, she's a prime example. So she was doing some other stuff. She was working gas stations, this and that. She came to us. She took the EMT class. She's taking the fire class. Right now, she's working as an EMT out of community. Has changed her career completely and is doing that. I've got another young lady who was working odd jobs, and now she's going to be on the fire department at Pleasanton. I've got another, and we're putting people out that otherwise wouldn't.
Well, those are the kind of stories you need.
Yeah, and so we have all kinds of success stories coming out of the program, but now it's just a matter of making sure they get the funding, because almost every class I turn probably 10 to 12 people away who just simply can't afford it. And that, it breaks my heart. It really does. And I that's why we're trying to find ways to be able to finance it. So
On the academy side, we've
Yeah, go
got
ahead.
7 classes slated this year. That's 2 high school classes and 5 EMT, emergency medical responder classes slated this year on the books, not counting our fire classes that we're going to have.
yeah.
Just where we're at right now on the academy side.
So, we're trying to, and the other thing I would tell you is, go look, $1,500 for an EMT basic course.
No, I understand
That is, especially an all-inclusive course, right? That's the other thing is, you might find one for $1,500, but they're going to gig you for the book, they're going to gig you for the shirt, they're going to charge you for your ID, ours is inclusive. Ours is, you're paying this, and we're going to cover all the way up through your first attempt at the National Registry Test, which is, I want to say, what, $200? Something like
It's
that.
$195.
Yeah, so $200 for your first attempt on the test. That's included in the price. And so it's a great price, but even still, one chunk, $1,500. We work out payment plans with people. This is why I try to get those out. That's why I'm excited about filling this in February, because I can start looking to fill in June, which gives those people all the way till June to start paying on this thing, right? And that way they can try to, so we're trying to find ways to work with the community the best we can, but we still have to do it within reason to where we can pay our bills and make sure we cover the cost of putting on the class.
Yeah.
So,
Good for it. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Any type of questions like that, I welcome them. I love them, because the more information we put out about this, the more we can help people. And look, we've gotten noticed so much that departments are now calling us saying, hey, can we come talk to your students, because we've got spots to fill. I got a young man who's in the interview process right now with ESD2. He used to work for the state, still does, works for the state, and wanted to change careers. And he's been through the entire panel, and he's just waiting on the answer from ESD2 in Bexar County to join their fire department. I mean, the success stories coming out of here are numerous. And so, it's just a matter of being able to fund it for people. So, moving on. Does this fall under us? You want to talk about the truck now, or do we have an item for that?
We have it.
Oh, we,
We have it on down a little.
yeah, we do.
Okay.
It's on there. We'll go, keep going, we'll come back.
Okay, we'll come back to that. All right, fantastic. The other thing is you'd asked me to do how much you actually had in the building. We had a couple questions on that. I've all but got it done, but what are we counting as in the building? Are we counting the trucks? Or are you just talking about in the main portion of the building?
Well, the trucks are separately, I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you. I would assume, which is not good to do, that that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about contents of the building, more as your
Your desk, your tables, your TVs, your...
yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I would guess that if something happened to the truck, it would probably fall on the insurance of the truck. But maybe not if the truck's inside the house, it might.
Well, and then like, what about the things on the
I'll have
truck?
to
The
ask that
SCBA's, the tools?
I'm gonna have to ask that question, that's a good question.
Because you have that number if it includes all of that stuff for the most part.
Do me a favor, if you would please, email me those questions and I'll forward those on to the insurance company and let them answer the question.
Done. I'll take care of that first thing in the morning, sir. That's easy enough. I do want to bring back up the topic of billing. Again, we have to have your okay to do any type of billing. You've already given us the permission to bill for car wrecks not involving in-district taxpayers, okay? And then I had asked that we expand that to include all of our types of calls so that we can continue to refill the coffers. And you guys wanted other departments that were doing that, or at least kind of a breakdown on how this works and whatnot. So that's what I'd like to talk about next. Before I give you the other departments that are doing that, I want to kind of break down how our billing works so you can see just exactly what I'm talking about. Because I tell you, not everybody has to pay their bill, okay? We've sent out, just remind you, this is just car wrecks of non-divine individuals, okay? We've sent out 101 bills over 2 years, a year and a half, okay? Over a year and a half, we sent out 101 bills. 66 of those were never paid for one reason or another. And we don't go after them. They just say, we're not paying. Because that's the other thing, it goes to the insurance company. We never bill an individual. If they don't have insurance, it's dead right there, period. Okay? If the insurance company says we're not going to pay it, it's dead right there, done. So the second we meet a no, a resistance, we stop. We don't go after anybody, anything else. So 66 of those were never paid out. 45 of those were paid out. Okay? 45 of the 101 that we wrote. Of those 45, that generated $56,000 for the department to put back into things that we need on an everyday. That is only doing car wrecks of people not in our district, okay? If we open this up, it would be a substantial way for us to refill some of the coffers and do some of the things that we need to do. Other departments that do this, this in a second, and this goes with that, and this goes with that. How many pages is this? Okay. Let's see. Frio County ESD1, all of ESD1, which includes Moore Fire, Bigfoot Fire, they all do it. Full open billing for fires, wrecks, all of that. I may mispronounce some of these because y'all spell things weird here. Bowie County ESD1, Bowie County ESD4, 6. Cass County 1 and 3, Hardin County 4, 5, 8, Henderson County 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 6, and 10, Southside Henderson County ESD 11, Houston County ESD 2, Leon County ESD 1, Southwest Leon County ESD 2, Northwest Leon County ESD 3, Liberty County ESD 1, 2, 3, 7, Nacogdoches County ESD 6, Rusk County ESD 1, and all of that is just from the billing company that we use. That's not from any other billing company. So you guys said, is this a thing? It's absolutely a thing. And it is needed. The ESD tax money is great to build buildings, to get trucks, but then we still have to, you talked about we don't bring in enough money to staff full TCF positions. I agree with that. I will tell you right now, TCFP, if you were under the TCFP and you were trying to staff this building, it would cost you $1 million just in payroll and that type of stuff, right? So as an SFMA, fire department, we have a little more flexibility and ability to put some more guys in here. But to have more people on station to where we can get to 24/7, 365 with somebody being in the building and able to respond, we need that money. That's what it goes for. It goes for to be able to provide better service. It goes for being able to replace equipment when we break it. It goes for being able to, every time we go out on a house fire, we're going to use 10 gallons of foam. Well, that foam's not cheap. It's expensive. It's really expensive. We got to be able to replace it somehow. Okay? And so that's the stuff we're talking about. That's why these fire departments bill. Because the initial money is great to be able to get the equipment, to be able to get the stuff, to be able to do the service. But once we use it, we've got to be able to replace it. We've got to be able to back it up. And that costs money. And so that is why I would ask you guys to do that. This is from SafeD. Obviously, you guys know SafeD is the overall, they're not the legislative body, but they're kind of the information body for all ESDs, right? And it says, how are ESDs funded? ESDs are allowed to levy the taxes. The Texas Constitution states the ESDs may tax up to yada, yada, yada. You guys know all that. And at the very bottom it says, ESDs are also allowed to bill for services provided, such as emergency medical services or fire protection, or both if so chooses. So, I would ask that the ESD consider opening up our billing so that we are able to provide more funds. Again, it's only going to people who have insurance companies. It's going directly to their insurance companies. It's not going to them. And as I stated before, especially on house fires, this money is there for a reason. The insurance companies know that. And if they say, no, we're not paying out because of X, Y, Z, okay, we walk away. But most of them, they will at least have the conversation with us. And that's what we want. So that would be a big help to us and help us provide a better service to our region, which is what we want to do.
No, I think our goal here always has been, and not until you have 2 people now work during the day, is that what you have?
Actually, sir, I have currently 3 runners and then my bookkeeper. So I have 4 people that are paid for our staff, but 3 runners during their day. Yes, sir.
Okay. That was the first step in having at least somebody here during working hours, which is the hardest time to get volunteers. And obviously, the more we can expand on that, it's only going to be better for us, to get to a fire faster, which is the key.
Yes.
I had somebody question me about when y'all are doing the orange pumpkin down there. That's what we call it, the Mexican stand down there.
Oh, that's taqueria.
Taqueria. We always call it the orange pumpkin because it was the orange, Anyways, that's... when it burnt down, I had somebody call me, and I reached out to the chief because he was trying to tell me, I can't believe it, Natalia beat y'all to the darn fire. This is the same guy that complains all the time to me. Not all the time, but he's one of the few that I hear it from. And so I was able to get the exact dispatch times and whatnot and quiet him down very quickly.
I can assure you at no time will Natalia beat us. Well, I won't say that. Let me back that up. I will tell you that it is a very rare occasion that Natalia will ever beat us to a fire in our district. And not a knock against Natalia, but we have people on station. That's why.
No, that's what I explained to this individual, and actually got the data from dispatch showing what time Divine showed up and all that. So,
because you guys normally go to Chewy's anyway.
Don't start a food robbery in my district. Don't do that. We share the wealth. We try to hit all the restaurants. So actually in that particular instance, what happened is, or what we believe happened is, our second arriving engine
they
was
saw
showing
the
up with
second
it.
Divine truck show up.
Yes. We already had trucks on scene putting water on the fire, and what had happened is they saw our second arriving truck, which showed up at the same time as Natalia's first arriving unit. And so I'm sure to someone who wasn't on location, it may have looked as if we were just arriving. But at that point, we'd already had the fire out. So it's, whatever.
I personally don't have how do y'all feel about the building? I don't personally have an issue with it.
No issues.
I
have no issue with it.
I just don't.
Well, I have to, if you're going to okay it, I have to have a motion. We can't do anything without
okay.
your approval on that. So just so you're clear. Okay.
As long as we stick to the same that we have in the past, which I know you're going to. The way I see it, it's not additional dollars coming out of our taxpayers' pocket. So and we've never had any pushback to this point so far. And the bottom line is money equals better service around here. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, the more people we can get, and if all of a sudden we can have 2 people, or 1 person, 24 hours, whatever it is, the more people we can have here constantly, we always know there's somebody going to be here that can at least get their gear on, get on the truck, and get headed that way, and hopefully other people can meet them there so they don't have to come to, however that works out, that's up to y'all, but the way I see it, that's better.
So with somebody on station, we cut our response time almost by, I'm gonna say the wrong fraction here. So if it was 6 minutes from them responding from home, we actually roll out in 2 minutes from somebody being on station. So we drop that time drastically. And so our average as a volunteer fire department is 4 minutes of rolling a truck, which is actually extremely good. But if we had people on station, my goal would then be to drop it to where a truck is rolling within 2 minutes of a call coming out.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, I don't know what the billing is going to bring in. I don't know that this would be the fix-all, end-all of getting people on station. The bottom line is to do what we would like to do, which is to have 2 people 24/7, 365, plus the 2 chiefs, plus 2 additional 8-hour people to fill in spots for vacations and things like that. What we have figured is the total payroll on that is going to be about half of what it would cost you guys. It's still going to cost us about $500,000. So at some point, for us to be able to do that, we're going to have to be able to generate enough to pay $500,000 to all of those paid staff, plus be able to operate and all of those things. So I want to make it clear, if we pass this, it's not like tomorrow we're going to have 12 people on. I just wanted to...
It was just in the right direction.
Yes,
I think
correct.
this is just like any of the other things that we found out with the taxes and whatnot. I mean, it's out there. We're just making sure that we're getting what we're supposed to.
Yeah, the sales tax, that went on for how many years, that all that money was being collected and the state of Texas was keeping it, giving it to whoever they wanted to. So that was the newest thing, and we don't even know what that's gonna look like completely yet, so. So if you guys are okay with it, I'll accept a motion from one of you.
You would? All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the other.
I have a motion to accept or extend the fire department the ability to move from billing only out-of-district insurance companies to all calls insurance companies, and only billing the insurance companies. A motion
Not
and
billing
a
individuals.
second.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. There you go.
Thank you, sir. I believe that is it. If we're going to touch on the trucks here in just a little bit, that is all I have for you, sir.
All right. And that leads us to Miss Nancy.
Okay, you have your financial in front of you for actually 3 months, ending December 30th. We did get some of our taxes start coming in. We had been very low, like at $2,000, and we got $50,000 in for the M&O tax this month. For those of you that are new, we budgeted $460,000 in current maintenance and operation taxes for this year. We budget about 96% of what we could actually bring in, just to make sure because we know that everybody's not going to pay. And then we have delinquent taxes that come in. And that's budgeted at about $14,000, and then the penalty and interest is $11,000. So total taxes that were brought in for the M&O side, maintenance and operation, is $55,957 as of this month. We got sales tax revenue, which is new, $33,000 total that's come in so far. Our first check was $504, and then the second check was like $30,009 something. We received notice just recently that on the 12th they deposited another $28,000, which was lower than last month. Kind of a surprise, but we'll just see where this goes. It depends on when people file their sales tax reports, whether they do it at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year. If they do it at the end of the year, they have until January 31st, I believe, to get it in and get payment made. So it depends on the size. The resolution that we signed to be able to start getting the internet, all the internet sales has gone in, and they said it would start in the next quarter where we would start seeing that. So that will be kind of interesting to see how that boosted up. Funny thing, I still don't quite understand what they do, but the gross collections that they brought in for that 1 month period of time was $28,007, and then they take a 2% service fee out of it, which was about $574, and then they take they retain some, which is about another 2%, 563. Then they give you back some of what they retained before. I have no idea. They gave us $600 back, so we get about what we should collect. You know, they collected $28,007, and they gave us $28,002. So, you know, it's pretty close, but I guess it depends on how that retainage goes from then on. But, you know, the state's always going to get their little bit of a fee somehow. Our expenses were just about normal. We didn't have any abnormal expenses, just the utilities on the building and, you know, things like that. We pay the Medina County tax collector 1.25% for collecting our taxes for us and sending those in. So our total expenses for those 3 months was $78,387. This, since we are getting our sales tax revenue in now, we're at $15,855 for the month, which is over expenses. We get most of our taxes in by the end of, as you know, you pay your taxes normally by the end of January, so you don't have penalty. And so our biggest checks will come in February, and then they'll start breaking off. So we'll have a pretty hefty fund balance for several months, but we'll have to keep paying bills after that, kind of like they do, you know. On the back of the report, we have what we collect for our INS account. The INS account for the newbies is where we pay our debt service, which is where we pay our bill for this fire department. Our balance for the note on the fire department is $467,000, which started at $1.7 million, was it? $1.7 million. So we paid it down. We've been able to pay at least $100,000 extra every year to pay that down, and we'll be way, way ahead of the game. We make payments of $78.28 a month on our fire note, and so those 3 payments have been $23,000. The INS account sits a little slower in getting their money in. They only received $11,000, but the total amount that they will receive is $99,000 for the full year. Our operating account sits at $170,482. We have a money market savings account that's at $103,000, and our INS account is at $31,000, making $305,000 in our checking accounts. I've just put down on the report that our sales tax revenue for the that we received in January this month was $28,000. Our payments are listed for January. They include all of the regular payments for the utilities and everything. There are a couple of checks that need to be written. We have the quarterly payment that we make to the fire department, which will be this month. We are reimbursing Todd for purchasing the diesel that we put into the generator. I couldn't think of the word out there. And then I wrote another one, and I just picked it up in the mail right after I printed these reports, and Burns and Anderson sent us, that's our lawyer, they sent us another bill for $225. But I do want to mention another bill, and we may need to add it to the list of bills. We have always sent our agendas to the clerk's office by email to be posted. They came out in the first of the month saying that they are now charging to post those agendas. It doesn't matter whether you email it in or whether you bring it to them, they're going to charge you. We can be grateful it's just an agenda, because they're going to charge you $2 for every agenda that you do. For some people, it's going to be much higher. They're going to do $61 for plats and things like that. Anything that they have to post or record over there, they're going to be charging for. So we can take $2 over there every time we go, or we can
when we post our agendas.
Yeah, or we can set up an escrow account with them of $24 and let them take $2 out every time they post an agenda. So if you're in favor of
Can you give me a
adding,
list of other counties that are doing this?
no, because it won't matter, because Medina County says we have to do it.
Yeah.
We could add this to our list of bills to pay, the $24, and get an escrow account set up with them so that they'll,
$2.
because we don't want to have to go over there and
Yeah, I
be
suggest we
paying.
just send them a $24 check and be done for the year. Yeah, that went out to all the
We're getting
ESDs.
paid in full for the year.
Yes. So if we add the $24 to it, it would be $71,024.32, which would be our total amount that we'll pay out for this month.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions, discussion?
The one from the lawyer, was that from the information that we got, or to check over the tax thing?
Yeah, which I have here, and I'm going to discuss that, but yes.
I have the bill if you ever want to look at
No, I
it.
just wanna
He
make sure.
charges every time Todd calls him
Yeah,
about
I'm sure.
something, as you well know.
I figured,
I have to call him very often, but yeah, I think as
assume that's
soon as
what
the
it's
phone
for.
goes, like a timer he hits with his button,
it's
you know, his finger.
.4 hours was $100, so every time, and there were 3 phone calls. 3 phone calls for $220.
Yeah, so I do try to make my phone calls brief. Getting to the point, no small talk. So, okay. All right, with that being said, can I get a motion to accept the treasurer's report, please?
And pay.
And pay the bills.
Making a motion to accept the treasurer's report year to date ending December 31st and to pay the bills listed on the back, including the Burns and Anderson.
I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report and pay the bills. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, so the agenda here, the old business is the resolution. So we had discussed several times and we agreed as a board that we would do what we could to reduce the tax burden on those 65 and older in our community, in our district. The way it was presented to us is that we would have the same latitude, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but like this, that the city and county has. They basically can just say, hey, your value is frozen and you're not going to pay any more unless the actual tax rate increases. Well, we received some paperwork from the city, county. Ken did some research. We had all this stuff. And we were going to we were just looking at what our options were. And to be honest with you, everything looked different to me. And so finally, I told Nancy, I think you guys said, I'm just going to send it to Ken, let him do it, our attorney. And he came back, and when I got it, I kind of questioned it because what it says on here, it says, whereas subsection 11.13 D and E Texas tax code provides for an exemption for an individual who is 65 or older in the amount of $3,000 of the appraised value of the resident's homestead. So I called him and questioned him on this, because that really wasn't what our intention was. And he said, okay, and so he did some more research. He said, well, that's the code that y'all fall under. He goes, it's not the same. So he said 11.26 is for cities, counties, and junior colleges. And I forget, he told me what the other one was for the ISD, but it was different.
But you're a special district.
We're a special district, and so it falls under a different tax code. And so what our option is we can basically give them a discount on the value of their property. Kind of like a homestead exemption. The homestead was 40,000, now it's 110 or whatever it is, different. And so what we can do is we can discount them between 3,000 and whatever we want to do it up. And so we have to come to an agreement on how much of a discount on their value we want to give them. That's what we can do. We can't just say it's done, it's frozen at a particular value.
Can you give them that discount based upon the rate at which they go up?
I mean, it has to be a set amount.
It's just written in here as an actual dollar amount. So we would have to agree on a dollar amount.
So for people who have a house that is worth $75,000, they may look like a much higher percentage than somebody that has a $200,000 or.
No, I agree, it absolutely
$100,000.
would. So if you make it $40,000, let's say, yes, for some people that might be 50%. For others, it might not even be a quarter.
It has to be a dollar amount, not a percentage.
Yeah, it has to be a dollar amount.
Do we have any idea what the other ESDs are
No.
giving?
Um,
I know that one that we looked at, it was a graduated thing over, they started at, I don't know, 7,000 and went up or
Yeah.
something like that over 3 years.
Wow.
I mean, I haven't put a lot of thought of this. I just haven't. I got this, and then Ken got back to me today, and we were talking about it.
So that doesn't sound anything like the conversation that we had about it.
No, because the city and counties are completely different. They fall under a different tax code, and so they just say, hey, so if your value is at $200,000 when you apply for the exemption, then you're done. Your value doesn't go up anymore. Your appraisal value for the district stays at $200,000. The only way your taxes would go up is if the tax rate increased over that time frame. We don't have the ability to do that. We have to set a discounted dollar amount. And, you know, if you hear Ken Campbell, who is our attorney, who is the #1 attorney in the state of Texas for ESDs, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of them he represents, but a lot.
He's a rich man.
And, I mean, he told me I wouldn't, when I asked him about it, he goes, why are y'all doing that? Don't do that. And I'm like, well, it seems like the right thing to do. He goes, what are you talking about? He says, your elderly people use the services more than anybody else. That's what he said. He's like, so, I mean, that was just, you know, him being him. That's just, he was like, you're giving the people that use the services the most a discount.
My argument with that would be, I mean, he's not wrong. He's correct, especially on the medical side. But, you know, if they paid into it when they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s.
no.
And I mean, that would be the argument.
No,
right?
I told him this, and I said, well, that's not up for discussion. We've already agreed we're gonna do something because we feel like it's the right thing to do.
So that means if
okay.
he's representing all the other ESDs, they aren't doing it then.
No, some
No,
of
I'm
them
sure they
are.
are. He knew what it was all about. I mean,
Some
so-
of them are doing
Some of them
it.
are, some aren't, but no, not all of
And
them.
his suggestion was for us not to do it.
Yeah, only because he just doesn't feel like it's necessary, he thinks.
And see, that's where I brought up the question before when Jerry Beck brought that up. What is the actual percentage that he was paying? Like how much money was actually going out for the ESD?
Yeah,
And he said, well, it's my whole taxes. I'm like, no, it's not.
no, it's not.
It's a small percentage, so I don't even know how much. That's what I was hoping to
I think
find
on my
out.
tax bill, it's like $500 or something like that, somewhere along that.
It's 7%, and what we're at now is 7.86 of your
Yeah, we're
tax.
7 point something
So
percent is what
compared
it
to
is.
what
Yeah.
the school or anybody else, the county and the school are the two highest taxes.
Yeah. So, if we want to do it at all, we can do it. We just have to, we can leave it at $3,000, or we can come up with a number higher, whatever we want to do, 3,000 and up, we can decide. If y'all want to.
Is that gonna make a
We can sit on it. This doesn't take effect until January of next year anyway, so
Right.
if y'all want to
Well, if
think
that's the
about
case,
it.
I say we table it and to get
Okay.
further information because.
I think it'd be nice for us to check with other places about
See
what
who else
they're
is doing
giving,
it, yeah.
you know.
I can email that out to you.
Because if we go with the $3,000, how much is that really helping?
Hey, every little bit helps when you're on a fixed income. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, when I was working in banking, I had a guy come in one time and he wanted to refinance his house. And the refinance cost, which gets rolled into the loan, was like, $6,000 or $7,000, and it was saving him like $50 a month. And I was trying to talk him out of it. I was like, this just doesn't make sense. That guy looked me straight in the eyes. He goes, Mr. Summers, that's diapers for the month. You know, you don't know where other people sit. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes, I was just like, yes, sir. We'll get her done. So it
And
might
that's
not.
what's tough is that you put a dollar amount, like you said, if somebody's got a $100,000 house or a $200,000 house.
Percentage-wise, it's not going to work out. You're absolutely right.
So just running the numbers what she gave, a $100,000 house is $7,680 a year for taxes for us, and it's $15,360 for a $200,000 house.
He
So-
was saying our tax rate would make us $78 on $100,000.
Oh, 78.
7,600,
So the $200,000, it's how much?
15,000. It's doubled.
1,500.
Yeah, 1,500, sorry. I
1,500.
put the decimal in the wrong spot.
I don't even know. if
It's not that high.
No.
I mean, I'm just,
150.
I'm not arguing your math, but it's not that high. I know I looked at mine and I don't have it on me, but I looked at it the other day and it's only 500 or something. Like my total taxes for my whole house is like $7,000 a year.
So if it's not that
That's
high.
everything.
On,
Yeah.
my point is, if it's not even that high, then the 3,000 should be good, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's just cutting off 3,000, like, so it'd be your $100,000 home's 97,000.
Yeah, 7.62% on set.
Well, so it's not on what you pay, it's on the
Seven-
value.
Yes.
I got you,
Yeah.
I'm tracking that.
So, yeah, how much is that really, how much are we really
Oh,
helping
yeah, if you're
them?
gonna do that, it would have to be pretty substantial.
It does come out to that. It does come out to what you have, except that you have to knock off one decimal point because it's per $100,000.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is why we have smart people.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I looked at it too, it's like, yeah,
So
let's say
it's for
15,000.
Yeah.
Take the math out of the question.
Yeah, so $3,000 is gonna be not much.
No, I would say it would have to be more substantial.
So just think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
one measure
Send
you
that
might
email
use is
out.
think about the homestead exemption. It was 40, now it's 100. Maybe use that as a measure. You know, that's substantial. Obviously more substantial for others, but bottom line is it's substantial. But let's table that and think about it, and we'll come back to it. You ought to think about that. Okay, fuel tank. Okay, so I had the one estimate from Bear. That was a company out of San Antonio. I wrote the numbers back here. Their total cost for a 1,000-gallon tank, a 1,000-gallon containment pan, and freight was $6,200. C&W Fuels, I emailed you guys their estimate. It wasn't like an actual attachment, it was just an email. He was writing it out. Their cost was $2,289 for the 1,000-gallon tank, $1,700 for the containment, and $425 for the pump. $4,400. So it
It's a
definitely,
single wall,
yeah, they're both single wall.
and the containment is a pump
It's a
system.
steel pan that it sits in. Yeah, it's a skid tank inside a containment pan, 1,000-gallon containment pan with a pump. So a little more than $2,000 less expensive to use C&W, and they're out of Honda, which is probably who we'd use to service it anyways.
Right,
And so,
that's what we discussed last time, I believe.
yeah. The thing I didn't have a price on last time was the containment pan.
Yeah,
They didn't have that in there, and so
and that
they're
was.
less
what was-
expensive across the board.
Yeah,
The other company was $1,943 for the pan, these guys are $1,700.
yeah.
So it's still less expensive to use C&W. So I know
That's a
we'd already,
500-gallon tank, you said?
1,000
gallon
gallon.
tank.
Yeah. And so I know we'd already voted on this and approved it,
We were just
but
waiting on that.
you were waiting on that.
Yep.
I think we had agreed as long as it wasn't more than, as
We
long as it's
gave
less
you-
expensive,
We
we
gave
could go
you
with
the authority on
this.
that.
But I finally got these estimates and decided to bring it tonight. So we can move forward on that with C&W and have them come out here, figure out. Now, one thing I didn't ask, I don't get that we need to, are you gonna set this on the concrete or are we gonna set it on the dirt out there?
Well, I mean, I can't be having the engine drive off into the dirt, so
Well,
it's
you can
gotta be,
drive right
at least-
next
it's
to
gotta
it.
be at least close enough that I can.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
all,
I
I was
mean-
just thinking right next to it, or are you gonna set it, up on the slab, is that gonna be in your way?
I mean,
That's up to you, you're the one
on
that has to
on
drive.
the slab
it,
probably
maneuver
would
around
be in the
it.
way, to be honest. On the slab would probably be in the way.
So maybe it's either
probably
we
next to it.
pour
Pour a
another
slab.
slab right next to it, a small one, or we just set it in the dirt right next to the slab.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the concrete that's already there, because we already pretty much
Yeah.
used that whole thing to drive on, so I would,
Did they give a recommendation on what that should be put on?
It's a skid, so it's made for the ground, it's made to
That's
slide.
what the
and you-
skid is,
Yeah,
but,
it's on a skid, so you can drag it around even if you wanted to.
The containment pan and skid is all one
It's all
unit?
gonna be,
I would just say as long as it's on a good solid foundation, level and stable, whether it's concrete or crushed bleachy dirt, I mean, I think the weight of the fuel is gonna
Maybe
keep it
even-
in place, so.
Maybe even stone,
Yes, sir.
just to drain, so it's not wet up underneath it.
Okay.
'Cause I'm trying to think out there, we got
They need to check.
garbage truck comes in.
They need to check anything.
Yeah, so there's.
Probably.
Well, we could even put it on the backside,
We've already
you know what I
approved,
mean?
so.
Over there by the Connex, like, we would have to readjust some stuff, but that would be
Are there any
Tough
secret
having
roads
that
that
to
could
see
pull in there and
now.
try to fill it.
So I was thinking
Where
where
about
command is, where that curve starts,
Yeah,
and
don't
then
have to
right
work
there.
that shit.
No,
We
that'd
put
be
the engine around, and you'll pull right up next to it, and then
We can work out the location, I mean, we can, if you'd like, we are map one out for you.
We just want to, once we know it's coming, just know,
Yeah,
obviously I'll
absolutely.
coordinate with you, know where they're going to set it.
Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously before you fill it up, it's not that hard to move around.
Well, we may want to ask C&W what their recommendations are as
Yeah.
well for longevity of the skid
Yeah.
and placement.
Yeah.
Good point. I'll ask them.
I don't know what the dimensions of the containment pan are. I'm thinking maybe 4x8 or 6x8.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're not looking at a horribly large slab. The depth of the concrete may be the issue.
The only other thing, both companies provided and I asked them, I can't believe they don't have it, but it's not something that's standard. So the pump that's gonna go, it's an electric pump to go in there, it'll come with a spring-loaded coil cable that you would pull out and connect to your battery on the truck. Chief's already said that's not gonna work for them because of where their batteries are located. Either they're gonna have somebody amongst their people, or I'll know somebody. It's not gonna be that hard to have a little box mounted on the side of it that holds the battery with a trickle charge solder on it, just like you do for electric gate. So that's gonna be the deal. We'll just take that and plug in there instead of having to go to the truck. So we'll have to make a slight modification to it. That should be very easy to do. Other than that, it should work great, fine. And then we'll have to worry about how we're gonna monitor who's using it and how it's being used. I know you've got thoughts on that. We'll figure that out. Okay, so, I don't think we need a motion for any, we've already approved.
We don't need a
this.
motion because we already gave you the authority.
Did you make the motion with the approval of the amount of money?
No. Well, we did a motion with up to,
Yeah.
but we did.
Like that?
Yeah, it was up to a amount not to exceed, and this is less than what it was, is what we did last time. Because again, the only thing I didn't have the price on was the containment tank, so we already did that. So we're good on that. Okay. One last thing. Okay, so we have been considering a fire truck, tanker, new tanker, 3,000 gallon tanker. And one of the things I was waiting to get word back on was financing. So right now I have one person that's responded, that is our local bank, Security State Bank, which I'm glad they did because the last time we asked them to do something, they weren't interested. And I'm happy that they are. I didn't go to Momentum because they don't have a loan officer, and unless y'all want me to, but I prefer to deal with somebody that's here. And the loan officer they had is no longer there. We'll leave it at that. So one of the companies that were offering the fire truck threw some financing options in here. And they were all annual payments, 5, 7, and 9, so 5 years, 7 years, 9 years. Interest rates were 5.95, 5.93, and 5.85. Security State Bank, I was dealing with Kellen Nixon. He offered 5 years at 5.8%. All of them are 20% down payment, which is normal. And he said the same thing, they're willing to do monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual payments, whatever we choose for that. I haven't pushed him yet to see if maybe he could extend it out a little more than 5 years, if we decide we want that. Because a 5-year payment at 5.95 is gonna be roughly $100,000 a year. That's what it's gonna turn out to be. It's $99,206. Okay.
Well, if we get that sales tax.
Yeah, the sales tax money probably wouldn't be hard to
We
do
should
that.
be able to do it.
Get it paid off. I did also reach out to, just because he financed, I mean, he was local at the time, but Philip Fitch, he helped us finance the truck and the firehouse when he was here. He's in Yoakum now, but I thought, what the heck, he's always helped us out, so I called him and gave him the data. He hadn't got back to me. No, that was a last minute thought, so I just reached out to him, so he hadn't got back to me yet. He didn't know whether his bank would be interested or not. So we're getting to the point where we just really kind of need to decide, you know, is it something we feel like we can afford to do or not? I think our date on the estimate is probably expired. I tend to think they don't have people lined up that they're gonna kick us down the street if we don't tell them right away.
So I called them, but well, they do change the rates pretty regular, to be completely honest. But
Everything's negotiable.
I called them both today, both of the two main ones that we were looking at, and they both said that both rates are still applicable. So, and they will both, if you decided to go one way or another tonight, that they would write you a new letter with the same number.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, in our normal budget without the sales tax that's coming in, I think when we looked at the numbers, it was tight, you know.
We were just gonna have it. Because our budget was gonna sit at 159,000 surplus. If we
Right.
pay everything in our budget and we get everything in that we expected,
Right.
that's without sales tax.
So without sales tax, right, we were gonna have $159,000 surplus. So if you think about it, if we end up with a 5-year plan, you're gonna be down with a $59,000 surplus.
Plus the tax.
And that doesn't include the, so we received 30 and 28 on the sales tax already, so that's
So far, you have
$60,000 roughly.
61, I got the number right here for you. You have collected thus far $61,381.58, and that's 2 months. I didn't count the first check because it was a small one. But,
So,
yeah.
and that covers, that right there covers 60% of the 5-year payment, with just 2 months worth of sales tax. And we have, so if we commit to this, when is the point of no return?
You pay, the point of no return is when you sign the contract, which is going to be when we commit to this. But your first payment won't be due until upon delivery, which for both of these, I believe they're looking at, I think they said 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, it's gonna be out there, so.
So you're going to have another 4 to 6 months of sales tax in, which, by the way, wasn't included in our budget, right? Because we didn't account for it because we didn't have it yet. So you're going to already have 4 to 6 months of extra sales tax money coming in before we ever have to make a payment.
And when did you say the telecom is going to be effective?
They said the first,
Okay.
the second,
Okay.
it'll actually start with
So
the
that
next
would be in
quarter,
addition.
which was April.
And how many other neighboring fire departments have
Have tenders?
tenders like that?
So
Bigfoot does.
Natalia, Bigfoot does, Lytle does not. Castroville, and more have tenders, okay? But having a tender and having a functional tender is two different things. Realistically, right here close, our best bet is if we can get Bigfoots or we can get Natalias. That's if they're available. Because you go past those, Rossville, Charlotte, they don't have anything. Does Hondo still have one? Okay, Hondo has one. You know, Castroville, the next one's coming out of Castroville, right? So they have them, but it's just getting them over here.
I have questions. Dr. Charlotte.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you some
Sure.
questions about the tender?
Sure.
So, like, Bigfoot has a 3,000 gallon tender, Natalia has 2 3,000 gallon tenders, and then Hondo has 5, right? And you said Castroville, right?
Right.
How many times do y'all call, like, the county? The county's another asset. Y'all ever call the county to bring water?
So in an insurance services, if you're talking practical firefighting, we have done that. We've even used private facilities, right? People who have their own water. Unfortunately, we can't count those in an insurance organization rating. Our ISO rating, which is a 6, has to be counted on what we have as a department. And so that's one of the reasons for this, is that we don't have one at all currently. Even by calling those other places, the county and whatnot, you're talking, if they have somebody available, sometimes 15 and 20 minutes before you can get on location. So it's a matter of time thing.
Okay. And you're asking for a tender because we need one? I mean.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So we have GI trucks, right, that have 2,000 gallons or something, 1,500 gallons?
600 on one, a little.
There's one that is 1,200.
One that is
It depends on the truck.
Okay. So how often do you think you're going to use this thing?
All the time, because here's the thing, if I roll out, again, 3,000 gallons in one truck, it would take me 3 other people to be able to roll out those other 3 trucks. And so I can roll out 3,000 gallons with less people, I can roll out 3,000 gallons with one person now, instead of having to have 3 people to roll out 3 different trucks. And then not only that, but then it's on location, right? So when they get on location, now those guys are gonna have to refill a whole lot more. So they're gonna be running a lot more water shuttle than if we just had one truck that was able to do it itself.
Right, so what is standard operating procedures right now?
So the standing operating procedures is we go with both of our engines and call for mutual aid to come and help with the water shuttle.
Okay.
So,
Philip said he's gonna talk to his bosses.
Are we still thinking of going with the company that's out of state?
that's up to y'all. I honestly, it comes down to the numbers and what you guys feel like. They're all pretty much the same. They're made with all the same equipment. They all have the same chassis. They all have the same hell pumps.
But part of the question was the maintenance.
Correct.
If you-
And that is part of it. The company that is out of Wisconsin, I think, where was it?
Was it Missouri?
Missouri. The one that's out of state.
Yeah.
It's a mom and pop shop. We don't know anything about it. We're not sure what their maintenance side would be. Obviously, the other company is more reputable, and I mean, Siddons Martin, everybody knows Siddons Martin, but it's going to be more expensive. The other part of that is when the Siddons Martin truck comes, it comes with equipment on it. The one that we would be getting from out of state it's just the truck. It's just the bare bones. So.
Don, do you mind saying what the price of both of them are now?
Siddons Martin truck, $430,000. The Lone Star Emergency Group is $394,500. So, like you said, chassis, engines, all that are the same. Siddons Martin, I don't know how much equipment, how much is going to be on there, what value is in that.
Right. So the value where I see the value, if you're talking apples to oranges, any of that equipment, so they're going to have hoses on there. They've already put in the quote that there's a couple ladders on there. They've already got some equipment that's going to be on the truck, which does have some significant value. But then it also comes down to the service piece. I know that if I have a problem, I can call Ryan Crady and it'll be a shop in San Antonio tomorrow. Whereas this other one I may have to take to Missouri, and I don't know what the service is going to be on.
Because you don't know if they would
'Cause I
work
don't-
on one
correct.
out of Missouri.
Correct. So that would be my only benefactor as far as putting value into paying the more expensive price. But yeah, realistically, whatever you guys decide is fine with us.
Well, but again, if we use the Lone Star one, I mean, what is it going to, do you have any idea what the value of that stuff they're putting? In other words, is that $30,000 worth of equipment, or is it $20,000 worth of equipment that we're going to end up having to buy to put on the other truck? I mean, have any idea on that?
I don't have the value off the top of my head. I don't reckon it's probably $30,000, but I would guess you're probably in the neighborhood of 10, 12 at least, that of valuable equipment that they're going to include in that. And it saves us the time and the effort of having to go out and find that stuff and put it on the truck.
And the maintenance is important, and it's just,
Maintenance
we just
is a
don't
big
know.
one. Yeah.
And that's one of the other things we discussed too, is that rating.
Yeah.
And the other company, are the other fire departments, are they getting close to the end of their rating? Are they renewing? What is the age of those other tenders? that we'd be borrowing, even if right at this point?
Yeah, so I don't know where they're at on their ISO cycles. So ISO just changed their cycles. It used to be every 10 years, now it's every 5 years. And so we factor in, when we're doing our ISO ready, of course, you guys know we're going through that right now as we speak. And part of that is we factor in the other trucks that are available to us, but we get very little points for them being able to shuttle in. And vice versa, they get very little points for us being able to shuttle in. They do get points, but it's just not as much as if you had the water supply yourself.
The ISO rating is what should, once it's up, homeowner's insurance should be a little less expensive.
Correct. Your best ISO rating that you can get for residential is a 4. Right now we set it as a 6. And 1, 2, and ISOs 1, 2, and 3 are for your commercials. It's for bringing business in. Ideally, I don't believe there's any chance of us getting to a 3 at the moment because of staffing things and whatnot. We're just not there yet. But I really believe we can move from a 6 to a 5 or even potentially a 4 and get our homeowners the best possible insurance rate, through the ISO.
This is a tough one. It's a lot of money. And I feel like I understand the need. I mean, especially, in the city, it's not as big of a need. We have fire hydrants. I don't know how many of them work, but we have fire hydrants. But it's the rural properties, which is, a huge part of our district where water is everything. If you can't get water, I mean, it's tough.
I'll give you a prime example. The Taqueria, we got there in time. Luckily, I'm not going to say luckily. It was started by a vehicle, which then moved to the building. The reason that's important is because it gave us time to get to that structure to be able to get water on it. We were able to get water on it quickly and stop it from spreading. So we were actually able to use the water just off of one engine. But by the time we had a tender there with 3,000 gallons, which actually was coming from Natalia, it was 8 minutes later. And so if we were waiting on that to show up, and I didn't have anybody else personnel-wise to be able to come back here and get one of our GI trucks, to be able to shuttle it, it was kind of like, and even if I had one person, they might be able to shuttle us 1,200, right? And so had this been a bigger fire, this would have been a prime example where having a tender pumper is extremely handy, where if you show up with just a couple people, you already have 3,000 gallons of water and you can do fight until the rest of that help is able to get there and help you dive into that.
1,000 gallons will last how long fighting fire?
That's a relative question. We can go through it in about a minute if we really pushed. But if we're using it with tactics and intelligence, we can make that last 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 minutes if need be. If it's not a very big fire, it can last half hour, 45 minutes. It just depends on the fire itself. But on a typical structure fire, we're going to end up dumping about 60,000 gallons of water. So the more water we can have in those initial moments, and those initial moments are crucial, right? That knockdown is everything. If you can get knocked down within just a couple minutes of being on scene, you can actually save structures and things of that nature. And so having that water available right off the bat can really change the outcome of the fire.
No, I've talked to Mark over in Bigfoot, and he definitely says it's very beneficial for them to have it. And they have their trucks new.
Yeah, they just got a brand new tender. Yeah.
And sir, I think you hit the nail on the head with, within the confines of the city, our operational hydrants, although they're not ideally located, are adequate, I would say.
Functional.
Yes. It's when we get out of town and you gotta turn the engine around and it's a 40-minute loop to go find a plug, fill it up, and bring it back out. It's like that last structure fire not the last one we were on, where we had 3 engines daisy chained. So we had engine on engine on engine, and then those were all being fed by Natalia's 3,000 gallon tender. So once those engines were in place, and the way that this structure was located, it was one up, the first engine up close, second one, third one, and then the tender, we probably drug 100, 150 foot of hose out to the street where the tender was, versus having to back an engine back through a very narrow gate on some of these county roads, you don't have much room to turn these engines around. So if you can just have one that is parlayed out there on that hardball or on that Cleachy road, and it's the one that just has to move back and forth to go get water, then we have the advantage of having the water that's already preloaded on either that single engine, double engine, or in this case, we had 3 of them. It gives us the flexibility of modifying our tactics, using our water conservatively, but also, and gives us that peace of mind of knowing I got another 3,000 coming in 20 minutes, and everybody on the fire ground can then modify tactics so that we don't end up running out of water. Because then,
The other aspect of having the tenure is none of our engines have the ability to carry a dump tank on it. They don't have the space. And so if we can get that dump tank there, we can actually drop that 3,000 gallons of water in this big pool, draft it out of our engine, send that 3,000 gallons. Because again, Lieutenant DeLucia hit the nail on the head. We a lot of times we got to run all the way back into town to get to a plug. Because there are parts of our district, 133 square miles, there's parts of it that there's not a plug for miles. And so you may have to send them, 10 minutes back to get water, which is a 20-minute round trip, plus the time to fill up the truck. So if we can drop that 3,000 gallons there, send that truck immediately to go get water, it'll increase our water shuttle. Instead of connecting a 1,000-gallon truck, sending it, connecting a 1,000-gallon truck, sending it. And so it makes the whole thing more efficient and allows us to do a better job.
Have y'all tried getting a grant?
I'm sorry?
Grant? Money for this?
Yes, sir. We've actually written a couple grants for this. We've tried for the last 2 years. We wrote a FEMA grant. We've written firehouse grants. We've written several grants to try to accomplish this. And we've gotten some grants, just not the ones for the truck. So.
And this money's going to affect the SCBA purchase?
No. Oh, the money that you're talking about now. It could. I mean, because again, if we're going to do the SCBA changeover, you're talking that's another $100,000 changeover. So definitely something to be considered.
Yeah. Well, I think we have more information than we did, but I know prices can change or whatever, but I don't think until we get solid financial numbers from these different banks, I just don't know that we can plug in the numbers tight enough to make the decision to do this. Because like you said, once we make this decision, we're tied to it.
Yeah, so on each of these contracts, once you sign, if you cancel, I want to say 3 months, or what they call the quarter build or the half build, there's a penalty with it. So you can get out of it, but you're going to lose money by doing that.
Me personally, just knowing where the economy and all that is, I think if we wait and get some more data, come back, I'd be amazed if they don't honor the price. And I think if you pushed on them, they'd do it anyways.
Are they looking at April dropping
well,
percentage rates as well?
I don't know if we have to go that long, but I need to get better numbers on the financing. I need to find out locally if they're going to go more than 5 years, if we're going to have that option. Philip Fitch is supposed to get back to me, see what he has. He in the past has worked harder than anybody ever has to get us good financing.
Well, that's the other thing too. If they're changing that rating to every 5 years, how much does it cost to get recertified?
From the ISO itself? Well, it doesn't cost you anything necessarily to get recertified. They're willing to come and do that for you because that benefits them. But if you bring in an advisor and all of the things that you should do if you're doing an ISO right, it costs you about $3 to $5 grand.
Because I'm just thinking if we get a loan that's out past 5 years, we're going to have to get it re-inspected again.
Well, the truck you wouldn't. The ISO, we get that every
So
5
there was a rating though, every 10 years?
Every 10 years, on the NFPA standard.
That's what it is.
The NFPA standard is 10 years. That doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
That's just, it's literally if the truck is 10 years old, they're gonna come out and take a check at it and take a look at it.
That's what I.
And as long as we're doing our pump checks and all that stuff, which we do every year anyway,
Gotcha.
it'll pass. It'll be
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to table it till we get further information?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know we're getting more information every time we get together, but I just don't feel like we're there to be able to
Right.
really tie into the budget.
I think also with,
When you think about it, you think about this, I can't even say it.
SCBA.
SCBA. And you throw that on top of the fire truck, and right now, with current budget, we'd have, $50,000 left over. And then you throw another 100, so.
Would you be more comfortable giving us the green light to go ahead and switch over our SCBA's? I'm in, we talked about both of these, and if you're not comfortable with the truck, which I fully get, the SCBA's is about a third of that cost. We brought in $61,381 already in extra sales tax that we weren't anticipating. If you can green light that, I'll start that process. But we talked about this in the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years, we're gonna have to do both of these anyway.
No, I understand.
So, would that be a conversation you'd be
Yeah.
willing to have?
what's your priority?
6 and 1, half does the other, you take the pick. So again, our
Whatever we
SCBA,
get.
our SCBA manufacturers don't exist anymore, Honeywell. And while they're required by law to make parts for the next, I think, 10 to 15 years, what is not required is that they keep their prices valuable. And so their prices went through the roof the day they announced that they were closing. And so
And
for
what's the
us to
state
be,
of it? What's the state of it right now?
of our SCBA's, we're down 3. I lose 2 more, I lose a truck. We're hurting, just being honest. I had 2 of them repaired from a gentleman from the company's name, I can't remember what his name is.
Somerset.
What is it?
He's over in Somerset.
Yeah, over in Somerset. And he fixed a couple of them for us, and he told us, he said, I can try to repair you a couple more times, but we're patching it together.
I
And
thought it
so,
was 60. No, am I thinking of something different?
60.
To replace all those? Or you said it was 100,000?
We have 25 SCBA's, and it's 3,000 to 4,000 depending on what company you go through, per SCBA.
And then you get a couple of bottles for each of those.
Yeah.
Maybe he should bring some prices on that to us.
Yeah.
Because we have, it's like our Fast Attack, it's designed to have 2 SCBA's on it.
It has none
It
of
has
that.
none on it.
And the
None of
SCBA,
our
that's
brush trucks.
gonna be a check, that's not gonna be financed, that's gonna be a check we're gonna
That's
have to
gonna have
write.
to be, yeah, you're correct.
Do you have an official quote on that yet, or can we get one?
I can get you one. I'll get you 3.
Yeah. I think we need that. We gotta think about that. That's not gonna be something that's gonna be
That's why I brought it up.
yeah. That's gonna be a one-time deal.
Yes, sir.
But if we look at that now, and then we have several more months that we can look at on the sales tax to see about the,
To the hell.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
because
Yeah.
then by April, we should start seeing what the rest
Yeah.
of it's gonna be.
Okay. Well,
And
if you'll get me that.
Yes, sir.
I should have 3 good quotes on the financing for the fire truck by then too.
Yes, sir.
so then on the backside of your finance, the operating account from American Momentum, is that liquid
Oh, yeah,
That's our
all
liquid.
of that on that side is liquid.
on that side? Okay.
Yeah, we have reserves, sure.
Right.
We have good balance. We have to remember that once we finish collecting the rest of our taxes, we have to run the rest of the year on that balance.
Correct.
It's there.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
The 100,000 that's sitting in the money market has been sitting there for 2 years, I guess. We
Yeah,
built
we
it to
used,
100.
yeah, we paid 100 on the firehouse, that was out of the other account.
Yeah.
Last 3 years we've done that?
Yes, we have.
Last 3 years we put an extra 100,000 on the firehouse trying to pay it off.
We need to do the officers too.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, this me, I said I'm usually an hour, am I usually an
This
hour?
is-
Yeah.
You're usually an hour. This is
This is rare.
it's
This
a
is
rare
very
meeting.
We got a
unusual.
lot to go
Had a
over.
lot to go over this meeting.
All right, so one thing we need to just reconfirm is the board positions. I'll remain president unless one of y'all want to do it.
No, we go. We're pretty
I think
pretty happy with the current situation.
We have Jeff Howard as vice president, Ken is treasurer, Chris is assistant treasurer, and then until we find somebody else, Ken, we'll have you as interim secretary, just until we fill that position.
I'm ready to hire today.
Do we need to vote on that already?
No, we don't have to.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
appoint.
Just want to make sure we have that, because she needs that for the audit.
Then there's another report that goes in every year to, I can't remember, it's a federal agency, that they have to have all the names of the officers.
Yeah. So, y'all good with that? Hold what you have for now?
Unless you want to be the treasurer, since you had more time on the board.
All right.
You can be secretary.
That was a lot. All right, well, with that, so I'll commit to having the finance and you'll SBC.
Self-contained breathing apparatus,
Self-contained breathing.
SCBA.
I don't know why I have a hard time with that.
I will get you 3 quotes on that, yes.
Yeah.
The next meeting is,
Next meeting is,
and I did hear from Peggy, Jeff was called out at midnight last night for a hospital outage, and she said he came in and crashed, and.
But that
she
was
said
last
he-
night.
Yeah, big baby.
Come on, Jeff.
all right, so
She
February
said he worked all
20th.
day and the night, so.
When is it?
February 20th,
February
next
20th.
meeting. That being said, I'll accept the motion to adjourn this meeting.
One last
Oh,
follow-up with the, remember the safety conference?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
safety
you sent
conference.
somebody
Oh.
50.
Is anybody want to go to the safety conference?
I do, and he was actually
Are you thinking about it, Chris?
expressing interest in that, so I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
register for it. We've already agreed for, I don't know how many times. Anybody wants to go, we'll reimburse them for it.
So I'll get with you on how to register, sign up for
And I
that.
got,
Do you have all of the information on where the hotels and stuff like that are?
I can get it.
He wants to go too.
He wants to go too.
It would be really good for some of us to go this year.
It's absolutely imperative that some of you
It
go.
would really be good.
That's where so all the sales tax information, all that stuff I brought back, that's where it came from. Safety. It's huge.
So it's 22nd through the 24th of February?
Correct.
And I don't know exactly how we could handle it, but if we find out where hotels and stuff, we get the information, we can, I don't know, we don't have a credit card, but we could pay
We can
for
probably
it from.
prepay for it or we can reimburse you, one or the other, either way.
And normally, I think we give, should give a per diem for the day for
Yeah,
expenses.
yeah.
And I don't know what that is anymore.
We'll work that out, we do that, but yeah, bottom line is you should keep your room and board, whatever it costs for the conference and for the end of the day for going, because you being there is benefiting this board.
Copy that.
Also meet your requirement for your training.
Is that the one that is mentioned in the?
It is. So this meets your requirement for this,
you
for
go.
the training for ESD.
Oh, all right, we are adjourned. Oh.
I make a motion to adjourn.
You got a second?
Go ahead.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.